Last night I had a really great opportunity. I got to go to St. Kate's and listen to Coleman Barks read from Rumi. I think some Sunday we'll just dedicate to Rumi. For those of you who don't know who he is, a mystic, a Sufi mystic who was just this prolific poet. I think maybe 30 poems a day came out of him, I don't know, but he didn't write them himself. He would just speak them in the presence of his followers, and scribes would write them down. I'm going to see if I can remember some from last night. He brought a new book, so I've only had it since about 9:30 last night. Coleman said that Rumi is like one of the few people who blurred the lines between different religions. All religions can find meaning and depth and beauty in his words. And let's see. Oh, he was talking in one about meditation. He said, find your place. Close your eyes. See with your heart. Find your place. Close your eyes and see with your heart. Another one. Coleman told jokes. Rumi would share poetry and conversation, but told jokes too. Laughing and conversation were part of his spirituality. And I can't remember any of them, but I will try. I'll try to have them for you some other Sunday. One poem he read, he called it Charred Kebab. I sat by the fire last year. This year I am a charred kebab. I think burning up was spirit. Later on in the poem he says, stop for a moment. Stop your sadness for a moment. See blessings, all the blessings fall around you like blossoms. God. Stop for a moment. Stop your sadness. See blessings around you falling like blossoms. God. I could just live there. Isn't that beautiful? One of my mentors from a few decades ago used to tell me that she would be very cautious and conscious when she chose a title for a workshop or a lecture or a class, because the universe had a way of bringing things into her life that would inform the content of that class. Situations, challenging situations, and opportunities to help her find deeper meaning and a deeper way of sharing about the topic with those she taught. So this week I really understand what she was talking about. I chose the title for today about 6 or 8 weeks ago. It's The Gift of Peace. It goes in conjunction with our Advent theme of peace today. But this week I struggled with trying to find that peaceful center in myself. Especially one day when I was here, I was having a lot of difficulty being present. And I'm just going to give you briefly a little bit about what my week was like, so you can moan with me for a second. For about a month, our garage has been packed up in one of those pods in the driveway, and this past week I haven't been able to park in our garage. There was some projects going on in there. So a bit of displacement, a bit of chemical smells and things like that. But that's nothing compared to some of the emotional and difficult things going on in the extended family. My mother-in-law, who I've talked about before, suffers from memory loss and confusion. Well, she had a fall and broke some ribs and, went to the hospital, and now instead of going back to memory care is in nursing home. And, that's a weight on family. Our brother-in-law, who survived cancer about 11 years ago, had it recur last summer and went through surgery that real dramatic. He lost part of his neck and had to learn to speak again. And we thought he was in the clear, and just got news this week that it's back. We don't know how long he'll be with us. It's not operable. And then on my side, a niece who, a joyous occasion, had another little baby, and this little guy at 6 days old needed heart surgery, and is kind of coming and going with that. So the weight of all that was really on me one day while I was here and reading Caring Bridge and feeling powerless and sad, very sad. So I had trouble focusing on what was before me that day. So I did a few things that I think were helpful. I reached out to some friends and talked about what was going on. Got some hugs, got some prayers, got some compassion and comfort. And when and did some physical things here. I couldn't focus really on some of the work that I needed to do, so I got out the broom and swept the kitchen and washed up some dishes in the kitchen. Sacred service, get your body moving and involved. Went home and had a very good cry in the arms of my best friend. John's really good at being that presence for me. But I found that just breathing, we talked about this so much this fall with that Living Originally book study. Just breathing, being present with what you're feeling, and allowing it to be and pass through. And finally, I found the gift of peace again. I found that still, glassy lake within me. And nothing outside changed. None of the conditions going on with my family changed one bit, but I changed. So I'm imagining that maybe you've had some days, weeks, months like that, some challenging situations, and when some things can pile up. One thing you can kind of take in stride, but when you get a lot, it gets pretty heavy and can seem overwhelming. Some people think Christmas is overwhelming. Anybody got that going on this year? All the hustle and bustle, the parties, the places we need to be, the gifts we want to buy, family of origin stuff, all of that, expectations, the will of life. Is peace even a word that you associate with Christmas? Yeah. When so much is going on around you, and it can kind of seem challenging to find peace, but the Buddha said that peace comes from within you, and don't seek it outside yourself. Unity minister Gary Simmons wrote a book called The Eye of the Storm, and it is a great image for what we're talking about today. And even Elle, you kind of said that on your meditation this morning. A wild hurricane can be surrounding us, but in the eye of the storm, right within us, there is a calm and a peace beyond our understanding. In his book, Simmons writes, I'm going to need my glasses for this, change and movement are the heartbeat of the universe. He also writes, our lives and relationships are energetic fields subject to rules and balancing forces. Being and doing are the primary poles of self. What we do in our life arises out of who we are, and who we are is reinforced and made solid by what we do. We are the energy of being and the energy of doing. We can carry this further and say we can be peace and we can do peace in the world. But in order to do peace, we need to find that place of peace and that still calm lake within ourselves. We need that inner peace in order to offer peace to others through our words and actions and thoughts. The friends who hugged me that day, they shared their peace with me. My husband shared his peace with me. Simmons writes that authentic being and conscious doing are the keys. When we allow our energies and intentions to move in the same direction as spirit, we're being authentic then, and we're doing things consciously. We get out of balance when we need things to be a certain way, when we act from a place of fear or unworthiness or inadequacy, when we aren't true to ourselves, when we hold our tongues instead of speaking our truth. Simmons writes, when the poles of being and doing become out of balance or out of integrity, there's an interference in this energy pattern, and it creates tension and stress in your life. That's what I was feeling this week. Anyone else? Do we want tension and stress? No, we don't want anxiety, anger, and fear, and all of that stuff, really. We want to feel peace, the harmony, and the joy and the laughter. Like Friday night was really a lot of joy and laughter. But if we want this peace, we need to cultivate it within ourselves. We need to go looking for it, I think. And then we can have the gift of peace. So I asked you a few minutes ago if you associate the word peace with Christmas. You know, there are a lot of great Christmas stories. I'm thinking of some fun ones, like how the Grinch stole Christmas, and Rudolph, the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the Miracle on 42nd Street, It's a Wonderful Life, things like that. But the original Christmas story, the one that tells about the birth of Jesus, that story comes from the Bible, and it's 2,000 years old. If I asked you to tell me the story of Jesus' birth, it might sound something like this. Well, an angel came to Mary, told her that she was pregnant, but she's a virgin. She didn't believe it. Oh, then she came to believe it. Joseph married her anyway. They went to Bethlehem. There were a lot of people there. They couldn't find a room, so they went into the stable, and she had her baby there. Let's see, angels came to the shepherds. Shepherds came to see the baby because the angels told them. Big star in the sky brought the wise men with amazing gifts of gold and myrrh and frankincense. Yeah. Actually, that's a conflation. You know that word conflation? It's a writing technique when you combine a couple characters into one, or you combine a few stories into one. There are two very different stories of Jesus' birth in the Bible. One's in Matthew and one's in Luke. Matthew is writing for a Jewish audience, and he emphasizes Jesus' role as this Jewish Messiah. He traces his roots back to Abraham to establish this noble heritage. Matthew starts out with Joseph, actually. Joseph finding out that his fiancée is pregnant. There's some news. Yeah, he focuses on Joseph because the male has the responsibility to act. I read some of the background information in my New Interpreter Study Bible that during this time in history, according to Roman law, the minimum age for girls to marry was 10. And Jewish practices were similar. Marriage usually took place before a girl was 12 and a half years old. So little Mary was probably 11 or 12. And Joseph had some concerns. If an engaged virgin had sexual intercourse with another man, that was adultery. And the law of the time, would call for a trial, and it would permit execution. And I bet it was probably by stoning. So Joseph thinks that maybe he will marry her and then divorce her quietly to avoid any disgrace to himself or to her. But then, in a course of time, an angel comes to Joseph in a dream and explains that Mary is pregnant by Spirit, by the Holy Spirit, and that he ought to marry her. Aren't all babies from Spirit and Holy? I believe. Matthew's version of the story wraps up with the wise men following the star, bringing their elaborate gifts to the young child, probably a few years after the birth happened. So Luke's version, he wrote for the Gentiles, the non-Jewish people, and he tells the story from Mary's point of view. His version starts out with an angel, Gabriel, coming to Mary and telling her that she's pregnant with God's baby. Luke includes the journey to Bethlehem and no room in the inn, that part, and the baby born in the manger, and shepherds coming to witness the event. So what do you believe? What do we believe? What do we make of these stories? And I wish I could just tell you, but this is your journey. You get to decide and discern and find your way through this Christmas story. I can tell you what we're not celebrating. We're not celebrating the birth of Christ. The Christ is the power and presence and the love and essence of God. It's eternal. It can't be born. It's always present. What we celebrate at Christmas, maybe not really even the birth of Jesus, but we celebrate the birth of our Christ awareness. Jesus brought us the message about our own divinity, our own Christ light within, the spiritual truth of who and what we are. And that's a big gift. Charles Filmer, our co-founder, said that all the characters in the Bible are thought people. They reflect our thoughts, the conditions in our lives, our motivations, our challenges. So if we look at it this way, Joseph is wisdom, our thinking nature. In the story, he thinks about things and then he does things. He's wise. He's unwilling to expose Mary to this public disgrace or possible death. So he takes responsibility for this baby and calls him his son. Mary represents our loving, feeling nature. She feels deeply. She hears and follows spiritual guidance. She follows her intuition. Both Mary and Joseph are within us. Joseph thinking and conscious doing, Mary feeling and authentic being. Mary's pregnant, just like we are pregnant. We're pregnant with the consciousness that Jesus called the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven. It's within us. Every Christmas is a new birth, a new opportunity to shine our light in the world, to be the light in beautiful new ways. Every December, I'm just amazed at the new kinds of Christmas lights that come out, different, hanging things. But we get to be new each Christmas too. And it's also an opportunity to be the peace, be that peace that passes all understanding. Christmas is so much deeper than the traditions that we have built up around it over the centuries. The same spirit that lived in Jesus lives within us. We just need to remember who and what we are. We're individual expressions of the divine. What if this month, this Christmas time, you focused on this, to bring Mary and Joseph into harmony in your life? Make sure your being and feeling are in balance with your thinking and doing. Peace of mind is a state of equilibrium between your mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, all of those things in balance. Inner peace is having enough wisdom and understanding to remain stable while this storm is swirling around you. So we think of calmness, harmony, peace, serenity, all those centering words. And we can learn this and grow our capacity for inner peace through prayer and meditation, by coming to know and accept ourselves. Remember those words that I started out with. Find your place. Close your eyes. See with your heart. So we need this balance of being and doing in our lives. When we swing too far out in one way or another, we start to feel stressed. The gift of peace is yours when you bring being and doing into a divine dance. The dance partners, Mary with her love and authentic being, and Joseph with his wisdom and conscious doing. Let them work together within you to create a safe place for your astonishing light to be born and to shine out. We began this morning's service with the affirmation, the peaceful presence of Spirit lives within me. So know this, no matter what's going on around you, that is true. You can claim this gift of peace because it lives within you. Peace is possible in every circumstance, always. Safe and warm in the cradle of your heart. Nothing can disturb the deep peace of your soul, ever. The light within me recognizes and greets the divine light in you. Namaste.